The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the July Maybe series. So, if you're new here, the Maybe series is a list of books I compile towards the end of the month of what I might read in the upcoming month. So I usually pare down my list from this one. I put a little picture of it here and I tell you why it's on the list. Sometimes I remember the premise of the book and sometimes I don't, just depends. Then when I'm picking my books for the month, I pare it down from this list. There's always a spot on my final lineup for my book club book. I run a book club, and yeah, that's pretty much all the Maybe series is. Just sit here and chit chat about things I might be reading. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all I do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. Last summer, I did a spooky summer series. I think that was for August though. I was really in the mood to read some horror books in the middle of summer, and one of my goals last year was to read a lot more horror, and I was sitting there going through, I did my half-year wrap-up last week, and I was thinking I don't think I've read any horror yet this year, and that was super disappointing. I like reading horror, and I'm a little disappointed that I haven't actually read. I don't think I've read any this year. So yeah, when I was thinking about putting the Maybes series together, just over the last couple weeks, I was wrapping up what I'm reading and everything, and I'm what do I really want to read next month? You know what I don't want to read is contemporary fiction, because that's about what I've been reading the entire month of June, and I'm a little tired, not gonna lie. I've either been reading contemporary fiction or romance or something along those lines. I don't read contemporary fiction that often. Honestly, I don't. I read romance sparingly. I read smut more than romance. But yeah, and then typically I read a lot of thrillers, and then I read horror too on the side. But yeah, I feel a lot of my lineup, a lot of the books that I've been reading lately have either been romance or contemporary fiction, and I'm just ready to move forward, okay? I think it's just been a little too serious. I don't know, is serious the right word? It's been a little too real around here, okay? And I need some, I don't know, what would you say? Excitement, cutting edge, something scary? I don't know. Oh my gosh. Could you hear her galloping in just now? Anyway, so I was let's do some horror. Let's do some thrillers. Let's get some dark storylines going in here. Let's get some action going. Something. Let's mix it up. It's been too much of normal everyday life or romance type things. Let's get some action going, okay? So that was pretty much the whole list today, and I spent my time making the list. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The first book on the Maybes list is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. Okay, this book has been on a lot of Maybe series because I've been meaning to read it, okay? But one of the reasons I've been pumping the brakes is that this is part of a trilogy. And Stephen Graham Jones had not released the third book until March of this year. He literally just released it in March. So now the trilogy is complete, and I feel I can move forward without getting hung up on there not being the third book, right? So this is a sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, which I absolutely loved. I love Stephen Graham Jones's writing, okay? I fangirl Stephen Graham Jones like nobody's business. This was a big goal for me this year, was to get to book 2, because I read book 1, I want to say it was almost 2 years ago now that I think about it. I can't remember for sure. But My Heart is a Chainsaw absolutely blew me away. The only thing about it is it was really long, but the audiobook narrator did a fantastic job with this book, and I do plan on doing the audio for Don't Fear the Reaper as well. This is basically okay, My Heart is a Chainsaw was basically an indigenous folklore type story, but the main character, Jade, is obsessed with cult horror films, and so she sort of parallels everything that's happening in her life to horror films. And one thing that's happening in her life right now is there seems to be a murderer on their little town, which is connected to a lake. And so that's kind of what the whole story is about. Her tracking down this murderer and like paralleling everything to cult 90s horror films, which is like, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Jade is so cool. The premise of the story is so cool. It took so many more twists than I was expecting. And just Stephen Graham Jones' writing style is just so unique and so beautifully done. I absolutely loved it. So I'm interested to see where Don't Fear the Reaper picks up, because I felt like My Heart is a Chainsaw kind of ended in a way that was semi-closed, but there still was a lot happening, okay? This literally could pick up anywhere. It could pick up right away or could pick up a few years down the road. So we'll see. I'm really interested in getting this one in though. The next book on my list is The Hungry Deep by J.L. Murray. Okay, this was just vibes, okay? Look at this cover, right? This is supposed to be like gothic folklore horror. Yes, it's supposed to be super short. I think this is about a haunted house, if I remember correctly. It's like about a husband and wife that move back to the husband's hometown, but like they move into this creepy house, and the wife finds out that his first wife actually like offed herself there. So yeah, there's a lot of things about the creepy town and the creepy house, but this is supposed to be really short. And again, I was really going off vibes here because this one looks pretty good. But yeah, there wasn't very much description on this one, so there you go. The next one on the list is Pine by Francine Toon. Okay, this is another one. This cover is really cool. I don't know why I really like this cover, but I do. The reviews on this are mid, I would say. So I don't really know how good it's going to be. But this one sounds interesting because it's set in the Highlands. And the main character, I think, is a young girl, like maybe 10, 12, something like that. And she's concerned about finding the soul of her dead mother, I think, if I'm remembering that right. But there's supposed to be like lots of witchy elements in here, and like small town mysteries and horror and things like that. So yeah, again, the cover was really speaking to me. And I do like the idea of this being like a Highland witch vibe. So yeah, we'll see. The next book on my list is The Castaways by Lucy Clarke. Okay, Lucy Clarke has been on my thriller TBR for a long time, and I've just never picked up any of her books. I was actually looking at a different book by Lucy Clarke. I can't remember now what it was called. Maybe The Hike? I think that's what it was called. But then I saw this book by her, and so I looked at this one instead. And this one sounded a little bit more summer-ish to me, a little bit more interesting. But the description on this book was literally like 4 lines. But the reviews were pretty good. Like, the description on this book was just like they are going on a plane to a private plane to a secluded island, and something about you'll never want to leave until you can't. I don't know. There's a lot of room for interpretation with that premise. So I literally don't really know what it's supposed to be about. Maybe like it is supposed to be a thriller though. Lucy Clarke writes thrillers. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of room for a lot of different things to happen. There was not very much in the premise. So that kind of sounded interesting to me. So here it is. The next book on the maybes list is What Never Happened by Rachel Howzell Hall. Okay. This is also a thriller. I've been wanting to read Rachel Howzell Hall. Okay, and I know I've not ever brought her up on the Maybe series before because I've never been able to narrow down what I want to read by her. I would say all of her reviews are decent. I would say this is the best reviewed book of hers, and it was still just an okay rating. And a lot of people complained that this book was really long, which it do look long. Okay, and you know, I don't like long books. Like, I just struggle with the commitment, okay? And unless the pace is just like phenomenal, I get really bored and I want to step away, okay? So I'm hoping the pace is not bad on this one. But this is supposed to be about a woman that needs a break from her regular life. And so she contacts a friend that lives on an island, and her friend's like, yeah, come stay with me. I'll get you a job at the local paper. And at the local paper, this woman writes obituaries. But the reason that she's not been back to this island is because someone in her family like mysteriously died there. And so as she's going about writing these obituaries, she's starting to realize that the obituaries are not really like that normal, and that it seems like there's something weird happening on the island, like maybe a serial killer type thing. I don't know. Like there's a lot of things happening. The premise was very long. Okay, like the little blurb for it, very long, and I just was kind of TLDRing. But the highlights are all there. Like I said, I don't know if this will make it into the lineup or not. It will depend on if I can get it from my library, and like if there's an audio of it, I'll try that because that might be easier for me. But it definitely sounds promising. But this is also kind of giving me the same vibes as that one book. Now I can't even remember what it's called. I'll put a picture of it here. And that book was awful. I was so disappointed in that book. So if it's anything like that book, I'm not interested. We'll just see. The next book on the list is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. This is supposed to be a murder mystery thriller about a family member that died mysteriously, like in front of everybody. It sort of reminds me of like Knives Out, where like the body is there and then everyone's trying to like piece the clues together, you know? Or like that movie with Adam Sandler in it. Now I can't remember what it's called. Put a picture of it here. But the interesting thing about this book is the formatting, because it's supposed to be like you're solving the crime in real time. So you're getting all like the snippets from the police interviews and the forensics reports and things like that. So you're supposed to be solving it along with the people in the book. Like you're getting all the evidence that the detectives and stuff in the book are getting, and like you're supposed to put it together. A lot of people said the formatting was just incredibly fun, and so I don't know. I liked episode 13, and it was kind of done that same way, like done in like found footage style, and I think this is sort of going to be similar to that, where it's going to be lots of interviews, lots of clippings, lots of reports, things like that for you to comb through. I don't know, it sounds fun in theory, but then it also could be really monotonous and tedious to read. I don't know. We'll look into it. It sounds interesting. Okay, this is the last one. It's called Winter Counts by David Heska Weiden. Oh my gosh, that is a really long name, and I'm really sorry if I really butchered it, but I'm pretty sure I did. Okay, so this is giving me so many good vibes, okay? Like the cover is very unassuming, but the premise is kind of giving me a lot of really good angles, okay? So this is basically an indigenous thriller type novel, and it's set on the reservation, and basically there is a heroin epidemic happening on this reservation, right? And this guy that they call to kind of take care of this is sort of like indigenous vigilante, okay? So he's not really going to do things by the book, but he is going to solve the problem. And so he teams up with his ex-girlfriend, and they set out to solve this problem, like where are the drugs coming from, how is it affecting their community, etc., etc. It's really giving me a lot of, oh shoot, what is that? I'm having like a completely bad brain day. I can't remember what this, I literally just looked it up. I'm gonna put it here. It's this movie. It's giving me these type of vibes. It's also really giving me Stephen Graham Jones type vibes. I don't know why though. I think it might just be like the premise that I was reading was giving me a lot of those vibes. But I'm really interested in this book. Like if I can get this, I really want to read this. It sounds really good. And I'm interested to see if it lives up to like the hype. So yeah, here's this. I'm excited about this one. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That was the July maybes. I feel like I talked for a really long time, but I did actually have a lot of books on the list this week for this upcoming month. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot to choose from, a lot of whittling down to do, a lot of decisions to make. I'm excited to share with you all what I read for Pride Month next week. Like all of my books turned out to be really good, so I'm excited to talk to you about that. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know I'm posting. I post every week. And please leave me comments. Tell me what you've been reading. How has your summer been going? Like, is it really hot where you are? Are you surviving it? How is it going? Let me know. give me book recommendations, whatever. I love hearing from you guys, so please leave me a comment. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So I will see you all next time. Bye!